Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Friday, October 6th, 2017, and you're tuned in to episode 346 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shane Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day brings us up to my corner of the country here in Maine, where the Portland Press Herald is reporting on a substantial last-minute change to the rules and regulations that will govern adult-use marijuana sales starting next year by requiring towns and municipalities to opt in to allowing licensed marijuana businesses to operate. If the change is adopted by state lawmakers later this month, then the default setting for the entire state would be a ban on marijuana businesses that towns and municipalities would have to overturn by opting in to legal sales. The proposed change was brought to light yesterday during a meeting in the state capital of Augusta of municipal leaders from all over Maine. State lawmakers will convene in special session starting on October 23rd to vote on the raft of marijuana industry rules drafted by the Legislative Committee over the last 9 months, so we'll certainly be revisiting this larger storyline in the coming days and weeks. Marijuana.com has a good story up about an unpublished study commissioned by a Dutch medical marijuana company that throws a lot of scientific doubt on the conventional wisdom surrounding marijuana strains, specifically the whole Indica versus Sativa thing. The study, conducted by researcher Ethan Russo, was presented at a conference about cannabinoids held in Germany last week and found that there's no scientific evidence to support the idea that marijuana can easily be classed along Sativa versus Indica lines. The research team compared the genes of 149 Dutch strains and found no clear genetic distinctions between the so-called Sativa and Indica strains. In a press release announcing the results of the study, a spokesperson for Maricann, the Dutch company that commissioned the work, said that the terpene profile of any given marijuana strain was a more important factor in how it affects users. This is a good one to click over for the full read. With our final top story of the day, Tom Angel over at Marijuana Moments caught a nice marijuana moment on the floor of the U.S. Congress as Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz of Florida addressed the C-SPAN cameras and the House at large to speak about the potential cancer-fighting properties of medical marijuana and the need for the federal government to facilitate better research by removing it from its perch as a Schedule I controlled substance. Click over to Tom's piece to watch the video of the congressman's full remarks. I know I can become a cranky progressive sometimes, but the nice thing about medical marijuana is that it's one of those truly nonpartisan issues with sky-high approval ratings across the demographic spectrum. So kudos to Congressman Gaetz for his comments. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out in headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, Students for Sensible Drug Policy, which is celebrating its 19th birthday this week. As regular listeners know, I started the Rochester Cannabis Coalition, the student group that became the first chapter of Students for Sensible Drug Policy way back in 1997 in Rochester, New York. It made as much sense to me then as it does now that marijuana shouldn't be illegal and people that use it and grow it and sell it shouldn't be treated like criminals. Thankfully, the scope of SSDP grew after our first year as a strictly cannabis-focused organization to include all the other injustices wrought by the war on drugs. That focus and their ability to just get things done as an organization has made SSDP one of the most effective agents of change in the realm of drug and marijuana policy reform. Please help SSDP celebrate their 19th year in existence today by donating $19 to them over at ssdp.org/19, with that being the numbers 1 and 9. That's ssdp.org/19. Make those 11 keystrokes today and do your part to help SSDP keep fighting the good fight. All right, time for the Blitz. Press Connects has a really good piece up diving into the dumpster fire of a medical marijuana industry implemented by the state of New York, which seems bent on driving their 5 licensed medical marijuana operators into bankruptcy while making it as hard as possible for actual medical patients to get the medicine that will help them the most. This is a storyline that should be familiar to regular listeners, as the state has imposed, from the very start, a cluster of restrictive measures that have made it impossible for any of the companies sanctioned to sell medical marijuana to operate in a financially sustainable way. This is definitely a story you should click over and read, but if you don't, this myopic statement by a spokesperson for the New York Department of Health perfectly encapsulates their philosophy of failure. Quote, New York State's medical marijuana program has always been about patient care, not profitability or tax revenue, unquote. It's the failure to see that those three things can exist in one place that is dooming New York medical marijuana patients to substandard care. As the state of Florida works to implement the more progressive medical marijuana program passed by voters last fall, one of the issues that the state will be particularly challenged with is medical marijuana use by seniors, especially those in assisted living situations. ABC Action News Tampa Bay highlighted one such case where a senior citizen living in a nursing home has been denied the right to use medical marijuana. Charlotte Simpson lives in a long-term care facility and has been experiencing severe pain from Parkinson's disease and other ailments for years. She recently received a recommendation to use medical marijuana to treat that pain, but officials at the home where she lives, Zephyr Hills Health and Rehab Center, a division of Adventist Health System, cited federal laws in blocking her use of medical cannabis. The state of Alaska just released the totals for September's adult use marijuana tax haul, with a record $694,364 coming into the state coffers from cannabis sales. This marks the sixth month in a row of growth in the tax totals and came on the sale of 734 pounds of flower and 444 pounds of trim, which are the two main taxed points for the state industry. Licensed Canadian medical marijuana company Maricann just announced that they would be launching a venture to bring Julian Marley's Juju Royal branded cannabis to market in Canada and potentially Western Europe. Julian is, of course, one of the sons of the late reggae star Bob Marley, so his name carries instant cachet globally. Sales of the Marley Cannabis will start on January 1st in Canada, with 4 strains to be offered up. Under the terms of the deal, Maricann has the right of first refusal on distribution anywhere in Europe. The Washington State Supreme Court ruled yesterday that it was unconstitutional to require people to submit to random drug testing as a condition of pre-trial release. In the majority opinion, the court found that the drug tests ordered before a person was actually convicted of any crime were, quote, at least as invasive as a roadblock or pat-down search, unquote. Michigan's Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs released guidance yesterday on how it proposes to test state legal medical marijuana under its newly forming system. If you're into the Michigan scene, you're probably going to want to click through to the full text, but in short, medical marijuana will have to be successfully tested just after harvest and just after processing to get the official nod through to sales. And finally for today, Delaware lawmakers are working to officially consider how they would legalize adult use marijuana. A special legislative committee has been meeting this week and on Wednesday heard testimony from various stakeholders, including the state's Chamber of Commerce and members of law enforcement. The general consensus seems to be for the state to go slow and keep things highly regulated. Those are our headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again Monday with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsors, Students for Sensible Drug Policy, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.